Welcome to our deep dive today.
Yeah.
Where we're going to be exploring some fascinating ideas about human potential. And we've got a stack of books here from experts like Richard Bandler and John Grinder,
Yes.
Owen Fitzpatrick.
That's right.
And we're going to be looking at NLP and hypnosis.
Yeah.
So kind of looking at how we communicate, how we learn, and maybe even uncover some secrets about how our brains work.
Yeah. And what I think is really interesting is that they don't just describe theories, but they actually offer practical tools and techniques that people can use to improve their lives.
That's what I'm most excited about because, I'm really interested in how can we use these techniques to communicate more effectively?
Right.
Maybe achieve those big audacious goals that we've been putting off.
Absolutely.
And even overcome our limitations.
Yes. One of the most powerful concepts we'll be exploring today is pacing and leading.
Okay, pacing and leading.
Which is a technique developed by Richard Bandler, one of the co-creators of NLP.
Right, pacing and leading? That sounds intriguing. I'm all ears.
So it's a way of subtly influencing someone by first mirroring their behavior.
Okay.
So things like their body language, their tone of voice, even their breathing.
Interesting.
This creates a subconscious connection and builds rapport.
So it's like you're speaking their language, not just verbally, but like on a deeper level.
Exactly. And once you've established that connection, you can gently start to lead.
Okay.
So subtly shifting your own behavior, and the other person will often follow suit.
It's almost like a dance where you're leading your partner.
Yeah.
But in a way that feels really natural and effortless.
Right.
I remember Bandler describing how he could influence people's driving speed on the freeway.
Oh, yeah.
By simply matching their pace and then gradually adjusting his own, and people would unconsciously follow along.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing, but let's get practical.
Yeah.
How can we use this in everyday life? What are some specific examples?
Well, imagine you're in a job interview. You could subtly mirror the interviewer's posture and tone of voice to create a sense of rapport. And then as you answer questions, you could gradually shift your energy level or your language to project more confidence and enthusiasm, subtly influencing their perception of you.
That's a great example. I can also see how this would be useful in negotiations. Or
Absolutely.
if you're trying to reach an agreement.
Yeah, if you're trying to reach an agreement, you could start by actively listening to the other person's perspective and reflecting back their language and concerns.
Right.
This builds trust and understanding.
Okay.
And then you can gradually introduce your own ideas, framing them in a way that aligns with their values and goals.
That's like you're speaking their language.
Yeah.
While gently guiding them towards a mutually beneficial outcome.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see how powerful this technique can be.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, is there a risk of coming across as manipulative?
That's an important point.
If you're not careful.
The key is to use pacing and leading ethically and with genuine respect for the other person.
Yeah.
It's not about trying to trick or manipulate someone.
Got it.
It's about creating a connection and guiding them towards a positive outcome for both parties.
So intention matters.
Yes.
It's about using these techniques to enhance communication and understanding, not to exploit or control others.
Exactly. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's delve into some of Richard Bandler's ideas about what he calls the lies of psychology.
Oh, yes. I've heard him talk about this.
Have you?
It always makes me chuckle because it's such a provocative way to frame it. What are some of these lies that he challenges?
Well, one of the lies he tackles is this idea that happiness is something you pursue or achieve.
So it's not about getting that promotion, buying that dream house, or finding the perfect partner.
Those things might bring temporary pleasure.
Right.
But according to Bandler, true happiness is an internal state.
Okay.
A kinesthetic sensation, as he called it, that you can access in any moment.
So it's not about external circumstances, but rather how you experience and interpret those circumstances.
Precisely, he believes that we often get caught up in chasing these external markers of happiness.
Right.
But true fulfillment comes from cultivating inner peace and contentment.
That makes me think of Owen Fitzpatrick's work in Magic and Practice, where he emphasizes this holistic approach to well-being.
That's a great connection.
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick argues that we can't separate our physical health from our mental and emotional well-being.
Right.
He believes that true health encompasses all aspects of our being.
And he's also critical of the overemphasis on chemically unbalanced brains, right?
Yes. He questions this idea that medication is always the answer and highlights the importance of addressing the root causes of our struggles,
Right.
which often lie in our thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors.
It seems like both Bandler and Fitzpatrick are encouraging us to take a more empowered approach to our well-being,
Absolutely.
focusing on what we can control rather than feeling like victims of our circumstances or biology.
They both emphasize the incredible power of our minds to shape our experiences and create positive change. And this leads us nicely into the realm of NLP and its practical applications.
Okay.
One technique I find particularly fascinating is anchoring.
Anchoring, that sounds intriguing.
It's a way of creating a trigger.
Okay.
It could be a touch, a sound, a word that instantly brings back a desired feeling or state of mind.
Interesting.
Think of it like a mental shortcut to a positive emotion or behavior.
So let's say I want to feel more confident before a big presentation.
Okay.
Could I use anchoring to access that feeling on demand?
Absolutely. You could think back to a time when you felt incredibly confident and successful.
Okay.
Really relive that experience in your mind. And then while you're feeling that confidence surge, create a simple anchor.
Okay.
Like maybe squeezing your thumb and forefinger together.
Okay.
Or repeating a certain word in your mind.
So next time I'm feeling nervous before a presentation, I could activate that anchor
Exactly.
and instantly access that feeling of confidence I had before.
It's like creating a positive feedback loop in your brain.
That's incredible. It's like having a secret weapon in your pocket
Yeah.
to combat those moments of self-doubt.
And it's not just about emotions. You can anchor behaviors as well.
Oh, really?
Let's say you want to be more focused when you're working.
Okay.
You could create an anchor for that state of deep concentration
Okay.
by associating it with a specific action, like putting on your headphones,
Right.
and activate it whenever you need to get into the zone.
It's like training your brain to automatically shift into the desired state.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see how NLP can be such a powerful tool for personal growth and self-mastery.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
There's a whole world of NLP techniques and concepts waiting to be explored.
I can't wait to dive deeper. But before we do,
Yes.
let's take a quick detour and explore another fascinating aspect of human communication: hypnotic language patterns.
Ah, yes. This brings us to the work of Milton Erickson,
Oh, yeah.
the legendary hypnotherapist,
Yeah.
and the Milton model developed by Bandler and Grinder to describe his unique approach to language.
I've always been fascinated by Erickson's work. He was a master of using language to bypass resistance and create change in his clients. Can you give us a taste of how he used language so effectively?
Well, unlike traditional hypnosis, which often relies on direct suggestions,
Right.
Erickson used more indirect and permissive language.
Okay.
He would weave in metaphors, stories, and ambiguity to engage the listener's unconscious mind.
So instead of telling someone what to do, he would create a kind of linguistic puzzle
Yeah.
that their mind would naturally try to solve,
Right.
leading them to their own insights and solutions.
Precisely, he understood that change is more likely to occur when it comes from within.
This is reminding me of Van Lo's concept of reframing.
That's a great connection.
Yeah.
Reframing is a core NLP technique that involves shifting your perspective to create a more empowering and resourceful interpretation of an experience.
So instead of seeing a failure as a setback, you could reframe it as a valuable learning experience.
Uh.
Or instead of feeling overwhelmed by a challenge, you could reframe it as an opportunity for growth.
It's about finding the hidden opportunity in every challenge.
I'm starting to see how these different ideas and techniques are all interconnected.
Me too.
It's like we're building a toolkit for understanding and influencing the human mind.
And the best part is,
Yes.
we're just getting started.
Okay, before we move on to part 2 of this deep dive,
Okay.
let's give our listener a little something to ponder.
All right.
If there was one limiting belief about yourself, your abilities, or even the world around you that you could change, what would it be?
That's a great question. And what tiny step could you take today to start shifting that belief and unlock even greater possibilities?
Those are questions worth reflecting on. We'll pick up this thread in part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll explore even more fascinating techniques and insights from the world of NLP and hypnosis. Stay tuned.
As we delve deeper into these NLP techniques,
Right.
what I find fascinating is how they can be applied to such a wide range of challenges. One area where Bandler has had incredible success is in helping people overcome phobias, sometimes even in a single session.
Wait, really overcoming a phobia in one session? That sounds almost too good to be true. How is that even possible?
It's based on a concept he calls one-trial learning.
Oh.
This idea that significant learnings can occur from a single impactful experience. He argues that phobias are essentially learned responses, and they can be updated just like any other learned behavior.
So instead of trying to completely erase the fear, you're essentially rewiring the brain to respond differently to the trigger.
Exactly.
That's incredibly empowering.
And he doesn't try to force the change.
Right.
He works with the person's own internal processes, almost like a guide helping them navigate their own internal landscape.
That makes a lot of sense. Instead of fighting against the fear, you're acknowledging it, understanding its purpose, and then working with it to create a new, more empowering response.
And this idea of respecting the individual's internal processes really resonates with Owen Fitzpatrick's approach in Magic and Practice.
Oh, absolutely. Fitzpatrick emphasizes the importance of taking this holistic view of well-being, considering the whole person, not just their symptoms.
He's particularly critical of the tendency in modern medicine to focus solely on chemically unbalanced brains,
Right.
arguing that this often ignores the social, emotional, and psychological factors that contribute to a person's well-being.
I think that's a really crucial point. We can't just treat the symptoms without addressing the underlying causes.
Exactly. It's like trying to fix a leaky faucet by mopping up the floor
Right.
without actually addressing the source of the leak.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And speaking of connections, I'm starting to see how the lies of psychology that Bandler talks about
Right.
can actually impact our overall well-being.
Oh, tell me more about what you're seeing.
Well, if we believe that happiness is something we have to constantly chase or achieve,
Yeah.
then we're always going to be striving for something outside of ourselves, right? Never really feeling content in the present moment.
It's like we're on a perpetual treadmill.
Right.
Always running, but never really getting anywhere. And this constant striving can lead to stress, anxiety, and even physical health problems.
Exactly. So challenging those lies of psychology and embracing a more holistic view of well-being can be a powerful step towards living a happier, healthier, and more fulfilling life.
And that's where these NLP techniques become so valuable.
Yeah.
They give us practical tools to shift our perspectives, rewire our thinking, and ultimately create lasting change.
Speaking of practical tools, let's talk more about those hypnotic language patterns.
Sure.
I'm really curious about how we can use the Milton model in everyday communication.
Well, one of the key principles of the Milton model is to use language that's indirect and permissive,
Okay.
allowing the listener to draw their own conclusions and arrive at their own solutions.
So it's not about dictating or demanding,
No.
but rather guiding and influencing.
Exactly. It's about using language in a way that invites the listener to participate in the process of change.
Can you give us some specific examples of hypnotic language patterns that we might encounter in everyday life?
Sure. One common pattern is using presuppositions. These are subtle assumptions embedded in our language that can influence the listener's thinking.
I'm trying to think of an example, like when someone says, "Have you noticed how much better you've been feeling lately?"
Exactly.
They're presupposing that you've been feeling better,
Right.
even if you haven't consciously acknowledged it.
It subtly plants a seed in the listener's mind, even if they don't consciously agree with it.
That's fascinating. It's like a gentle nudge in a particular direction. What are some other examples of hypnotic language patterns?
Well, think about metaphors.
Oh.
They're powerful because they bypass the critical logical mind and speak directly to the unconscious.
It's like slipping in a message through the back door, so to speak.
Exactly. A well-crafted metaphor can create a powerful emotional connection and lead the listener to new insights and perspectives.
I'm starting to see how the Milton model isn't just for hypnotherapists.
Right.
We can all benefit from understanding these patterns and using them to communicate more effectively.
Absolutely. Whether you're giving a presentation, negotiating a deal, or simply having a conversation with a friend,
Right.
the Milton model can help you communicate in a way that's both persuasive and respectful.
So it's not about manipulation,
No.
but rather about using language in a way that's artful and impactful.
Exactly. And remember, as with any NLP technique, it's important to use these patterns ethically
Yeah.
and with the other person's well-being in mind.
That's a really important point. It's not about trying to trick or control people. It's about using these tools to enhance communication, build rapport, and create positive change.
Now let's shift gears and talk about another fascinating NLP technique, spatial anchors.
I'm intrigued. I remember we touched on this briefly earlier, but I'd love to explore it further. It's the idea that specific locations can be linked to particular feelings and behaviors.
Right, exactly. Spatial anchors are like physical reminders
Okay.
that trigger a desired state. It's almost like your environment becomes an ally in your personal growth journey.
So let's say you always feel incredibly creative and focused when you're working in a specific coffee shop.
Okay.
That location becomes a spatial anchor for those states.
Right. And the next time you need a boost of creativity, you can simply head back to that coffee shop. And the associated feelings will come flooding back.
Or if you have a spot in your home where you always feel calm and relaxed, you could intentionally spend time there when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
It's like having a personalized sanctuary that supports your well-being.
This is fascinating. I'm starting to see spatial anchors everywhere now.
Right.
I'm already brainstorming ways to create them in my own life.
It's all about becoming more aware of the connections between your environment and your internal states.
Yeah.
And then you can use that knowledge to your advantage.
Okay, let's dive back into those NLP techniques that help us unlock our potential in communication.
Okay.
Yes sets sounds like a particularly useful tool.
Yes sets are all about creating a series of agreements to build rapport and influence others.
So you start by asking questions that the other person is likely to answer yes to,
Right.
and then you gradually lead them towards the outcome you desire.
Exactly. It's a subtle way of getting someone into a yes state of mind, which makes them more receptive to your suggestions.
I can see how that would be helpful in negotiations, sales, or even just everyday conversations.
For example, let's say you're trying to convince a friend to try a new restaurant.
Okay.
You might start by asking, "Are you hungry?" Followed by, "Do you enjoy Italian food?" And then, "Wouldn't it be nice to try something new tonight?"
By the time you get to your suggestion, they've already said yes several times, making them more likely to agree to your plan.
Exactly. It's about creating a momentum of agreement.
That's brilliant. And it feels a lot more elegant than just trying to force your opinion on someone.
It's about creating a collaborative and persuasive experience.
I'm curious about visual squash.
Okay.
It sounds like a powerful technique for resolving internal conflicts, but I'm not quite sure I understand how it works.
Visual squash is like a mediation between two opposing parts of yourself.
So let's say you're struggling with a decision, or you have two parts of yourself that are at odds with each other.
Exactly. Visual squash involves visualizing those two parts as separate images, almost like they're in a tug of war.
And then you bring those images closer and closer together until they merge into a single integrated image.
Precisely, the goal is to find a way to honor both parts of yourself and create a win-win solution.
That sounds like a great way to overcome indecision or self-sabotage.
Yeah.
I'm always battling with those two parts of myself.
It's about creating internal harmony and alignment.
I'm definitely going to try this technique. Now, let's shift gears and talk about the power of well-formed outcomes. What's the secret sauce to making this technique work?
Well-formed outcomes is a fundamental NLP technique for setting clear and achievable goals. It's about defining what you want in a way that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
So instead of just saying, I want to be happier, you would define what happiness looks like for you.
Yeah.
Create a step-by-step plan to achieve it and set a deadline for yourself.
Exactly. It's about taking your dreams out of the realm of fantasy and turning them into concrete goals that you can take action on.
I love that it's like creating a roadmap for success.
It's a powerful way to turn your aspirations into a reality.
Oh, I'm curious, do you have any examples of how you've used some of these NLP techniques in your own life?
Anchoring has been a game changer for me.
Okay.
I used to get incredibly nervous before public speaking engagements.
I can relate to that. Public speaking can be daunting.
But I created an anchor for a state of calm confidence.
Okay.
By visualizing myself delivering a presentation with ease and feeling that sense of accomplishment wash over me. Now, whenever I feel those pre-speech jitters, I activate my anchor and it instantly shifts my state.
That's amazing. I'm definitely going to try that. What about well-formed outcomes? Have you used that technique to achieve any personal goals?
Absolutely. When I decided to write my first book, it felt like this daunting, overwhelming task.
I can imagine writing a book is a huge undertaking.
But I used the well-formed outcomes process to break it down into smaller, more manageable steps.
Right.
I defined my goal, created a timeline, and set deadlines for each chapter.
Okay.
It really helped me stay focused and motivated throughout the process.
It's like you transform that overwhelming goal into a series of achievable milestones. I'm starting to see how these NLP techniques can be applied to so many different areas of our lives.
They truly can, whether you're looking to improve your communication skills, boost your confidence, overcome a fear, or achieve a long-held goal.
Right.
NLP offers a powerful set of tools to help you unlock your full potential.
I can't wait to explore even more of these tools in part 3 of our deep dive. But for now, Let's leave our listeners with another thought-provoking question to ponder.
How about this? What's one area of your life where you're feeling stuck or limited?
Ooh, that's a good one. And which of these NLP techniques that we've discussed might help you break through that limitation and create a positive shift?
That's something to chew on. Remember, you have more power than you realize to shape your experiences and create the life you desire.
We'll pick up this thread in part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll explore even more fascinating techniques and insights from the world of NLP and hypnosis. Until then, keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep unlocking your extraordinary potential. Welcome back to our deep dive into NLP and hypnosis.
Yeah.
We've been exploring some really powerful techniques, and there's still so much more to uncover. But
Yes.
I'm excited about this technique called visual squash.
Yeah.
It sounds almost like a magic trick, but it's actually a very effective way to resolve those internal conflicts.
Yeah, it is a bit like magic
Okay.
in the sense that it helps us to create a sense of internal harmony and alignment.
Right.
And it's particularly useful when we're struggling with a decision or feeling pulled in different directions.
So let's say I'm torn between 2 job offers.
Okay.
One that offers security, but less creative freedom,
Right.
and another one that's riskier, but maybe more aligned with my passions.
Yes.
How could I use visual squash to make a decision?
So you would start by visualizing those 2 options as separate images.
Okay.
Almost like there are 2 characters on a stage.
Yeah.
Maybe one image represents stability and security,
Right.
and the other represents creativity and passion.
Got it.
You would give those images qualities, maybe even colors and textures that represent how each option makes you feel.
So I'm not just thinking about the options intellectually, but also tuning into the emotional energy behind each one.
Exactly. You're tapping into your intuition and wisdom. Then you would imagine bringing those 2 images closer and closer together
Okay.
until they merge like 2 colors blending into a new shade.
Interesting.
The goal is to find a way to integrate those seemingly conflicting desires into a single harmonious image.
It's like you're creating a win-win solution
Yeah,
where both parts of yourself feel heard and honored.
precisely. And as you continue to visualize that integrated image,
Right.
you might start to notice new possibilities emerging, a solution that encompasses the best of both worlds.
It's almost like you're transcending the limitations of the original choices and creating something entirely new.
Right.
I'm starting to see how powerful this technique can be for resolving those inner conflicts and making those tough decisions.
Yeah, and it can be applied to any area of life where you're feeling stuck or limited.
Right.
You know, it could be a conflict between your desire for success and your fear of failure.
Right.
Or a struggle between your need for independence and your longing for connection.
Yeah.
The key is to recognize that these seemingly opposing forces are actually parts of a larger whole.
It's like finding a way to dance with those inner contradictions rather than letting them control you.
Beautifully put.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about a technique that can help us set those clear and achievable goals.
Okay.
Well-formed outcomes.
Yeah, well-formed outcomes.
I'm all ears.
It's a really powerful tool for
Right.
doing just that.
Yeah, I'm always looking for ways to translate my dreams into reality.
Right.
And this sounds like a powerful tool.
It really is. The well-formed outcomes process helps you define your goals in a way that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
So instead of just saying, I want to be more successful,
Yeah.
I would define what success looks like for me. Break it down into smaller steps,
Yes.
set deadlines, and make sure it aligns with my values.
Exactly. It's about taking that vague desire
Right.
and turning it into a concrete plan of action.
That makes perfect sense. It's like creating a roadmap
Yes.
for achieving your goals rather than just wandering around aimlessly hoping to stumble upon success.
Right.
But sometimes even with a clear plan, we can get tripped up by those pesky limiting beliefs.
That's true. Our beliefs can be incredibly powerful.
Right.
And they can either support us or sabotage us, depending on what those beliefs are.
Exactly. If I believe I'm not good enough, smart enough, or worthy enough, then I'm going to unconsciously create experiences that confirm that belief.
And that's why it's so important to become aware of our limiting beliefs and challenge them.
Yeah.
NLP offers a range of techniques for doing just that,
Right.
including reframing, which we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
and something called submodalities.
Love modalities. That's a new one.
Think of submodalities as the building blocks of our internal representations.
Okay.
They're the fine-grained details that make up our mental images, sounds, feelings, and even self-talk.
So like the brightness, color size, or volume of a mental image, or the tone of voice of our inner critic.
Precisely. And by subtly adjusting those submodalities, we can actually change the emotional impact of an experience.
So if I have a negative memory that's still haunting me, I could use submodalities to make the image smaller, dimmer, or further away, essentially diminishing its power over me.
Exactly. Or you could change the tone of voice of your inner critic from harsh and judgmental to more supportive and encouraging.
Wow, this is starting to feel like we're entering the realm of alchemy.
Right.
Where we're actually transmuting our inner experience by manipulating these subtle elements of our perception.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Right.
And it really highlights the incredible plasticity of our brains and our capacity for change.
I'm feeling so inspired by all this. It's like we've been given a whole new set of tools to shape our reality, both internally and externally.
And remember, these are just a few of the many techniques and insights offered by the brilliant minds of NLP and hypnosis. There's a whole world of resources out there waiting to be explored.
So true, and we've only just scratched the surface in this deep dive.
Yes.
But as we wrap up this episode, what's one final thought-provoking question you'd like to leave our listeners with?
How about this? If you could whisper one piece of wisdom into your younger self's ear, knowing what you know now about the power of the mind, what would it be?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. It really invites us to reflect on our own journeys and to recognize the incredible potential that lies within each of us.
And perhaps in answering that question, we can also offer a gift of wisdom to our present selves, reminding us of the infinite possibilities that await us when we embrace the power of our minds.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found these insights and techniques as empowering and inspiring as we have.
Remember, the journey of self-discovery and personal growth is ongoing. Keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep unlocking your extraordinary potential.